Hello and welcome to the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Show. I'm your host, Corey Sievers, and in this particular double helping of healthy is what we're going to be covering in this particular episode of the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Show. And so we're going to be talking about really 12 tips to help you lose weight and keep it off. You know, we're coming up at this particular point in time, time of recording, to the Christmas period, the festive season, and so many people know that they need to look after themselves before going into that. Sometimes you're meeting up with family and all sorts of things, and you want to look your best. We'll be covering some tips to help you lose weight and keep it off. And in the extra session of Healthy that we're doing today, we're going to talk about 3 steps to help you take back your health if you have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Now, Hashimoto's is really, a condition that I really believe that conventional medicine has sort of doesn't help people. It really has not been there to support people because it's on the wrong track. Really, it's not coming at it from the right fundamentals, in our opinion. So we want to cover some of the steps to help you gain control of your health if that's been a condition that you've suffered from. So we're talking about weight loss and we're talking about Hashimoto's today on the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise Show. So if you are new to what we do here in the Savvy team, we're all about helping you reach a high level of health and lifestyle. And so when you connect in with our community, you'll have access to all of our step-by-step action plans, innovative solutions, and all the guidance and support that you need to get those health goals accomplished. So if you do know someone who's struggling with weight issues or is suffering with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, then this information could be really, really valuable for them and, could be life-changing. So please do share with your friends, share with your community. So, as I said, if you are new to what we do, we are really, a community that helps people reach a high level of health and lifestyle. And the interesting thing is that you don't need to be an expert at anything to help your fellow community members. And this is the great thing, that it's really a helpful community where everybody's on a mission to reach improved health and lifestyle. And so what we have is a whole range of action plans to help you get the job done so that you sort of got a proven track to run on. And so, step-by-step methodologies to help you in those, in particular areas that you might be struggling with. So whether it be looking to look years younger, or whether it be improving your digestion, we have really a program and an action plan to help you with your wellness goals. So essentially, we here in the Savvy team are here to inspire you by highlighting your own power to transform your health and inviting you to be part of the change and the supportive community. We're here to motivate you by sharing examples of how other members of the community are on their way to a high level of health and wellness. And we're here to guide you, and this is so important here, to provide these action plans, programs, guidance and mentorship, and access to specific solutions so that you really have a path to run on, some help, a supportive community around you to really get the job done. But please do understand that as we're going into this information, everything that will be shared reflects our personal research and experience and is for educational purposes only, so should not be seen as medical advice. The information is general in nature, and so all of your individual health concerns have not been taken into account, so any comments and experiences should not be interpreted as medical advice or therapeutic claims, and that is not what they are intended to put forward. If you have any question as to the appropriateness of the information with regards to your own health, discuss this with your healthcare provider. We do encourage you to take self-responsibility for your own well-being and learn more on these topics and on complementary medicine in general. But look, if you want to improve something about your health and wellness, then we can definitely guide you there. And we are really looking forward to sharing these particular tips with you over the course of this show. So congratulations for being here. Do communicate with us in the comments. Let us know that you give me a wave to let me know that you are here. I can't necessarily see that you're on live when I'm here using the PowerPoint and all that sort of thing. So when you make a comment or give me a wave, I can see you. So thanks for being here. Love you to share this information. And look, if you're catching this on YouTube after the fact or in the podcast version, please do come and join us live on the Facebook show sometime. Come say hi. All right, are we ready to get underway? We'll first be jumping on into the 12 tips to help you lose weight and keep it off. And, we're at this summertime period here in this region of the world, in Australia, New Zealand region. And so, it's amazing what clothes can hide that a swimsuit cannot. And so, whether you're wanting to make changes in terms of losing weight in order to look good in your skinny jeans, or swimwear, or whether you're doing it for health and wellness and disease prevention purposes, it really doesn't matter. It's what matters is that you get the job done. And here in the Savvy team, with all of our guidance, support, and programs, we're here to help you to get that job done. So if you want to dig into a bit more information around this, one great place to start is to go back and look at episode 30 of the Healthy Wealthy Wise show, where we covered weight loss tips and flat stomach secrets. So that was episode 30. You may want to check that out. But when we're dealing with weight loss, it can be very confusing for many people because you're told you're told that you've got to eat less, exercise more, eat less fat, eat more complex carbs, eat more often. You're hearing all these conflicting things, and it's very hard to know what to do. And we believe some of the advice that's out there is missing some core biochemistry, and so that's why you go awry. It's just been based on flawed science that matches up with the predominant dogma of saturated fat, and fat is evil. So the lower we can get our fat, the more we'll prevent heart disease, and the lower we can get our fat intake, because fat has more calories per gram compared to carbohydrates and proteins. It's then believed that therefore it will make you fatter. Fat will make you fatter, and that is from a biochemistry, an internal biochemistry of how the body works. That's far from the truth. And these, if you've felt like you're trying all of the standard advice and whatever the dietitian told you and whatever the latest diet book says, it may be that all of that advice was simply not based on the way the body actually functions from a biochemistry point of view, because we've had this belief of simply calories in, calories out. And, while there is a certain degree of that being important, there's a lot more below that. And if you look at some of our other material where we go into depth about the fact, for example, we're actually, even people today, if they were to eat the same calories and exercise exactly the same compared to people in the 1980s, we're still about 10% fatter. So how can it be simply calories in and calories out if that's the case? And the researchers believe it's chemicals, all the endocrine disrupting chemicals, it's the microbiome being messed up, it's all of these sorts of things. And this is what we go through in more depth in some of those particular other episodes and shows and our masterclasses. But I want to touch on some of those points in this particular session. So when you think you've tried it all and all that sort of thing, you might relate to this couple here. The government sent us a check. We failed so many diets that our kitchen qualifies as a disaster area. So maybe you feel like your kitchen has been a bit of a disaster area too. So, look, I do believe, I assert that in this day and age, what has happened here is that it's actually not your fault that you have struggled with your weight. If this is you, if you've struggled with weight and that's been a problem for you, it's actually not your fault. And I'll tell you why in just a moment, 3 reasons. But it is your responsibility. Okay, so associating blame, it's an interesting thing. We're here talking about, hang on, we're saying we encourage you to take self-responsibility for your life and your health, but now I'm saying it's not your fault. That doesn't work. Well, it does. It does work, because right now, from here on today, you can take control. But if you've been told all of the misguided information in the past, then, that's what stacked you up for failure, really. So this is why I can say that I don't believe it's your fault, but it is your responsibility moving forward. You have not been told about the real effects of endocrine disrupting chemicals from medical authorities. Okay, these can severely mess up the whole endocrine system and make it very difficult for you to actually lose fat. And this is one of the reasons why researchers believe that we're actually fatter even with the same, diet and exercise regime. In fact, the World Health Organization labeled some of those chemicals as obesogens, meaning that they can directly trigger obesity because they're interruption on the endocrine system. Number two, the packaged and fast food industry has convinced you and got behind this whole low-fat, healthy, whole grain bandwagon, and through mass media marketing, encouraged you that much of those foods are actually healthy. Now, it's important, obviously, that, obviously you can say, well, hey, you picked it up and ate it, so it's really your fault, that you can't blame it on the marketers. No, I agree in essence, but what I'm putting forward here with these three things is that they actually hire, like the tobacco industry and the fast food industry, all of these, that because of the money that is involved in those industries, they have been able to hire very, my background is in business and marketing, so I've studied marketing and all sorts of different things outside of traditional, what you learn in university as such, direct response and influence and all that sort of thing. And they hire some very powerful influence professionals to get you to buy this packaged food. They put marketing messages on the package for those who aren't well educated, like our community members and friends. For example, you can see natural organic, contains natural organic ingredients. And so you think that that's healthy. But it only has to contain one or two natural and organic ingredients, and they can say the words contains. You think that there's only natural organic ingredients, and that's not what it said. So again, we're dealing with language, we're dealing with marketing, we're dealing with sort of trickery in a way. And so that's okay. I have absolutely no problem with these methodologies when they're used for good. But the challenge is that we have an obesity epidemic on our hands, and we really do essentially, it is really a processed food disease. And so the influence professionals have been there to with money to tell you to eat these things, and yet the government doesn't put the same sort of money behind eating healthy whole foods or trying to get you to change things. So the obesity epidemic is actually costing governments more than the food industry profits from it. So the interesting thing is that, the food industry is making a ton of profit from packaged foods, and it's actually costing the government more than the profit to overcome the damaging effects of these diets. Like it's with all of the ramifications of type 2 diabetes and all of the rest of the things that the flow-on effects from eating too much packaged foods. Anyway, I digress from what we're talking about here. The third thing in this is that you've basically been fed poor information from health authorities about diet. It is nuts. In past shows, I've showed about how most of us are eating enough of the 9 to 11 servings of grain that the government suggests that we need. That's a lot of grain. That is a lot of grain, and it is unnecessary, and it's partially the problem, especially with what we're going to be going through here with anyone suffering from Hashimoto's thyroiditis. One of the first things you're going to want to do is eliminate all grains because of the potential molecular mimicry going on inside your system and causing this autoimmune condition. So grains are nasty things if you have a thyroid disorder. So that would be one of the first things for you, even though we haven't got to that yet. So look, there are a number of things that can really mess up your weight loss efforts. It could be the endocrine disrupting chemicals. It could be nutritional imbalances. It could be the diet misinformation that we just talked about. It could be stress and lack of sleep. It could be lack of exercise, but often that's, you doing exercise in order to lose fat is actually a bit of a poor strategy, really. Exercise should be done to stimulate the hormonal system of the body and to keep the circulation going and to move the lymph and for health benefits, not specifically for fat loss, because there are much more effective methodologies than that. You could have underlying infections causing you to hold on to weight. Could be just, it could be just lack of guidance and trouble actually sticking with it because everybody around you, they're struggling with their weight or are unhealthy, and so the environment isn't conducive, and so you need more of a supportive community to keep you on track, and that's what we really offer. So when we look at these things, if you've had trouble losing weight, the three reasons, they're the three reasons that it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Very, really, very important. It's your responsibility to make the changes from now. Okay, and so if you want to go back and get a bit more information on that, we covered that in episode number 9. All right, let's venture forward and deal with these 12 tips. What are these 12 tips to help you lose weight and not only lose the weight, but also keep it off? Because, sometimes it's a real struggle to, with this whole yo-yo dieting type of approach. People get a bit frustrated about it. But, the conventional approach to weight loss leads to a typical yo-yo dieting sort of cycle, really. And, if you look at some of the marketing and the experts and everything, every year there's a new diet book. Every year there's a fad or a superfood or a miracle cure to melt away the fat. And the government tells you that it's, avoid fat, exercise more, all that sort of thing. Now, look, movement is very, very important. Absolutely should be out and be a lot more active. We are certainly a lot more sedentary than we really should be. But, we've got all these miracles and all this supposed advice, and yet obesity rates are skyrocketing. So, healthcare practitioners that are on the front line, they realize that obesity is sort of like an epidemic now. And, you don't care about obesity as a general thing. You care about whether you can fit into your skinny jeans or whether you're healthy or whether, the belt's starting to get tight and you just want to look after you. So it's not important what's going on out there. What's important is what's going on for you. And that's what these 12 tips can really help you really help you start down a track that helps you win, really. The challenge that when we look, though, the reason I wanted to raise what's going on out there is when we start to see obesity rates climbing, that's when we start to see companies getting on and trying to market, whether it be a drug or whether it be some other quick cure, because then you think that, I'm just going to use that to get rid of the weight. So what happens is the marketing thing takes over, and we here in the Savvy team want to really guide you towards the things that will work long term, not just have you strip the weight off and then leave you in an unhealthy, depleted state, really. Because the body is fairly complex. It's not a one-size-fits-all, but there are some tracks to run on. And so we take all of that into account, and that's why we have multiple different programs, because not everyone will suit one diet. And yet that's what sort of seems to go on out there. It's like you're pushed in to one particular methodology, and you wonder why you're not getting results and everything, and you don't really have the support and the community around you to help you adjust those things. And so here in the Savvy team, we're very different. So let's look at some of these things that you can tackle yourself or alongside some support. All right. Number 1 is to eat a whole, real, unprocessed food diet. So we suggest that you download the free Eat Savvy diet, follow the 12 steps on our blog, and move towards what your grandmother or great-grandmother would have probably recognized as real food. And let that be the foundation of your diet. Because we've got to move away from this packaged food habit, really. And certainly, so just trying to think at the moment, Professor Robert Lustig, he's another one who speaks out about this being, in essence, a packaged processed food. The obesity rates, type 2 diabetes, it's a packaged processed food disease. And so he's really working at different levels to really try to bring about education and change in government. Whereas what we're doing here is grassroots, really helping you as our community members and associated friends to really help us in spreading the same message without trying to tackle governments, politics, and all that sort of thing. So really help us and help us spread the word. But if you can focus on real, whole, unprocessed foods, the sorts of foods that your great-grandmother would have recognized, yes, this is going to be likely. There's also some diet wars that go on with plant-based versus animal product and all that sort of thing. And again, we really have to find a middle line here because, yes, in the Eat Savvy approach, your plate will be full of plants in most cases, unless you have an autoimmune condition like we'll be talking about in Hashimoto's, for example. Sometimes the plant foods can be the very thing that is actually damaging your system. And so this is why we can't really be so like, vegan or any of this sort of thing. We actually have to find a middle ground. And so anyway, whole food diet will really, with lots of plants, little grains, some fruit, high quality oils, and certainly high quality meats like wild caught fish and grass-fed beef and these sorts of things. Okay, so you should be basing it on whole, unprocessed foods. Download the free Eat Savvy diet. Follow the 12 steps on the website. You can register for the masterclass to go into depth, and it's all covered there. Number 2 would be to reduce or eliminate your sugar consumption. I know it's hard. Again, it's an addictive food substance. So also we could say other additives and allergens that are in there as well. So researchers note that the average American, for example, is consuming up to 152 pounds of sugar each year. So that's a lot of sugar, and that does not include the starchy foods that will convert into sugar. So research from the Australian Bureau of Statistics says that we consume a lot more sugar than is safe and we really think is healthy. It appears that we're not getting the message to reduce, here in Australia, to reduce sugar consumption, and it's basically making us fat. We're only a touch behind the US. However you line it up, though, we're having far too much. The World Health Organization says that we should have no more than 25 grams of sugar per day, and most Australians are eating way, way, way in advance of that. Just to give you an example, so your fruit and vegetable intake doesn't add up to the sugar, this added sugar amount either. But if you were to have a bit of sugar in your coffee, you would have breakfast cereal, fruit yogurt, and maybe some chocolate later on in the day, you have already blown past your 25 grams of added sugar. And then we have all of the sugar that's added into other things that you might use that you don't think of as sweet, like added into bread and added into sauces and all that sort of thing. And if you had a soft drink that day or whatever, you've blown out the World Health Organization limit for sugar intake. You've blown it out of the water. And so, even these so-called healthy foods can be loaded with hidden sugars like almond milk and those sorts of things. Even, all of these sorts of things we need to really limit. So learn to be a bit of a label reader. We're really wanting to remove some of these things, and as well as the other allergens as well. So sugar's important, but there are other things like that drive inflammation that can trigger weight gain, like some dairy and some chemicals and these sorts of things. So be really cautious of those. Just eat a whole, more of a plant-rich diet, whole foods, and you'll be good to go. So next one is to eat plenty of gut-supporting foods. Now, there's a lot of studies that have shown that it's your gut microbiome, all the bacteria inside you, that when they become imbalanced, that can lead you to cravings. It can lead you to eating the wrong foods. It can lead just to a change in the way your body utilizes the nutrients. They have done animal studies, like done studies with mice and rats, and actually in injected the microbiome of an obese mouse into a skinny mouse, and the skinny mouse puts on weight automatically because of the bugs. And so this has led a lot of experts to sort of say, hang on, it's almost like where the bugs are in control of us. We're just the vehicle that all of the bacteria, the microbiome living inside and on us, and our mitochondria, they're like driving us, and we're not in control. It's the bugs that are in control. But what you have to do is you need to feed the foods to the bugs that will keep you skinny, the skinny bugs. And so that is a whole unprocessed diet. So when you follow the Eat Heavy approach and you reduce all these inflammatory ingredients and everything, you'll also start to re-educate your whole system, and naturally your microbiome will adjust. So eat plenty of gut supporting foods, and this is where taking a high quality probiotic to restore the balance can be helpful, and then over time you restore more of the diversity with fermented foods such as yogurts and sauerkraut and kimchi and these sorts of things. Being careful that if you have autoimmune conditions or other inflammatory things, it doesn't matter how healthy these things are, they can trigger your system. So if you've got trigger your system, your system to sort of go into overdrive. So you may not want these fermented foods, and like so many people, for example, they're into the kombucha craze, and yet they have rampant skin conditions. I would probably be cutting that out altogether, because maybe some of those fungal, there can be irritants there, there can be allergens that actually trigger the immune system. So this is where sometimes you need to be a little bit cautious on this craze of fermented foods, but definitely go natural. All right. You need to manage your inflammation. Overall, we eat too many omega-6 fatty acids in vegetable oils and grain-fed beef, for example, and not enough of the anti-inflammatory omega-3 fatty acids. So chronic low-grade inflammation contributes to weight issues and metabolic disease as well. So it's a bit of a vicious cycle of inflammation that makes your body fat, and then, makes you more inflamed, and then then you try to lose weight, and because the weight holds on to toxins, it's where your body has stored previous exposures to toxins, and then suddenly you're starting to try to lose weight and all these toxins are coming out and you feel terrible, and so you go off the diet. And that's why you need nutrition alongside a weight loss effort to support your detoxification pathways, and that's what we do here in the Savvy team. But anyway, we need to shift away from all these typical seed oils, all the things that you've been told are polyunsaturated, good for your heart types of oils, low in saturated fat and all that sort of thing. These are also loaded with omega-6, often adulterated, damaged oils, and these can cause inflammation in your body. So if you give up the seed oils and the packaged foods, then your natural balance will come in alignment a lot quicker. All right, so some of the other things that you can do to improve the balance of omega-3 and omega-6 is, things like flax seeds and walnuts and wild-caught fish and all that sort of thing. And of course, an omega-3 supplement from something like krill oil or fish oil. Those sorts of things can really help. If you're looking to lose weight, you'll want to sleep well as well. So if you lose sleep, you will gain weight. It's just one of those things. Epidemiological studies have shown that shorter sleep definitely correlates with increased obesity, increased hypertension, as well as other metabolic disorders. So, in our high-tech world, we're often up too late, staring at bright lit screens, and then that stops us from being able to get good quality sleep, and it's a vicious cycle there. So if you're looking to lose fat, you will need to be sleeping a bit more. It just really does help, or at least getting good quality sleep. Okay, sometimes. So set yourself up a little bit of a nighttime ritual for shutting down. You'll want to manage your stress levels. So definitely research has shown that chronic stress can contribute to obesity for several reasons. You're more likely to go for the comfort foods when you're stressed. Your levels of cortisol is ramped up, and then when that that can trigger inflammation, but that can also after your stressful event and everything, it can then trigger a low, which you interpret as a need to eat more, and so you overeat after stressful situations. So you're sort of overeat during it and then after as well. Look, you can't eliminate stress in this day and age, but you can certainly balance it out by getting out into nature, by deep breathing, by practicing guided meditation or something, and also sometimes just taking some of the herbs like St. John's wort, valerian, B vitamins, lactium, and those sorts of things. They're a blend of things that we use here in the Savvy team to just take the edge off and calm you down. And that's also that blend that we use is really helpful to help you get great sleep too, because it just calms you down at the end of the night and you get a good quality sleep. So really manage your stress levels if you're wanting to reach your most trim, taut, and terrific self, we could say. All right, set yourself up to succeed. Set yourself up to succeed. Like in our programs and dealing with many community members in their weight loss efforts, we've seen that those who think ahead, who prep ingredients, who plan for their taking stuff to work, who stock up on grocery essentials, who eliminate the rubbish from the cupboard, clean out the pantry and everything, they're more likely to succeed with losing weight and keeping it off. So, set yourself up for success there. Here are some things that I just jotted down that could be helpful, that we've seen work for many community members. Make eating your meal a priority. Actually block out time to enjoy your meal when you're on a weight loss program. Don't work and eat, just like multitask. It's far more productive if you actually, for weight loss and for satiety, if you sit down and enjoy your meal. So plan what you're going to eat ahead of time. Not just shopping, but plan the day as well. If you've got a busy day away from home, take a lunchbox. Fill it with your food, the planned meal. If you're going to leave the house with no food, just a credit card, for example, then that's the dark place that many diets go to fail, we could say. So look, the next thing would be identify your food triggers and social triggers too, and avoid them or plan for them. Make a list of the people, places, and circumstances that trigger your hunger, and sort of plan for a different alternative. So, you might be like me. So I'm what would be called an environmental eater. So I'm a mindful eater too. I'm very conscious of the things that I put in my body nowadays, but I'm an environmental eater. So it's, if there's a really nice spread out there, it's hard for me, especially if it's homemade stuff and people have put personal attention to it. If it's just a packaged food that I could get at any time in any shop, I'm less interested. But if it's something that's special, someone's put effort into, they've made a cake or whatever, then it's like, it's hard when it's there. It takes a lot of discipline. So you have to pre-plan for those sorts of eventualities. And it may mean that you have to have an alternative with you. Because sometimes, when you get the sweet cravings, you can't just have a little bit. The addiction centers just take over and eat the whole lot of something. Whereas sometimes just a little bit of something sweet can knock the edge off and really help you. So dates, for example, are very sweet. So you can definitely overconsume fructose through dates, and you can get a lot of sugar from a date, especially the big medjool dates. But nevertheless, if you're craving something and you're likely to have a big piece of chocolate cake full of sugar, inflammatory chemicals, and gluten, versus a handful of dates maybe and nuts, then if the dates and nuts turn off your cravings, then pre-planning for that is wise. That will help you better than ending up eating the chocolate cake. Okay, so just plan for it. Set yourself up to succeed. Avoid spontaneous compulsive eating. Don't walk by the leftover pizza that someone's left on the counter when you're on a diet but your family's not or whatever, and then just eat it on the run and not even realize that you just ate that for no purpose. Okay. Also, look to avoid the actual snacking between meals. All right, so that really helps you to dip into your fat stores in between meals. When we look back into pre-war era, even back into the 50s and earlier, that the 40s, many people only had 2 meals a day. They might have 3, but they often didn't snack, and they had very few meals away from the home. So they were in total control of the types of food that went in there, and they were also a lot more naturally slim. By the way, there was a lot bigger consumption of things like butter and that sort of thing. And yet, sometimes they still ate bread, but it wasn't the same hybridized, damaged stuff that we're eating today. So, avoid that spontaneous compulsive eating. Now, next one. Next one is stick to your plan. Stick to your plan. Before you put it in your mouth, say, is this on my program? Is this on my program? Because one of the things, for example, our fastest program for helping you reach your goal weight is what we call our rapid fat loss protocol. And it has a tightly restricted diet of certain foods that we've seen do not cause that many problems, as well as sometimes it's just measuring the portions. Sometimes if you're not getting results, you may have to count calories, but usually portion control and being strict on the program is enough to get you great results alongside the nutritional regimen that you're on. But then, people often say, yeah, but this is healthy, isn't it? So like, it's not on the program, it's not on the plan, but then people say, yeah, but this is healthy. But I thought that this was healthy. But I thought that, that fruit was healthy. Well, how many pieces of fruit did you have today? Well, I had 2 bananas at breakfast time and I had an apple at lunchtime, and then I got really, really hungry. And so I ended up having, well, fruit can trigger your hunger. So again, we need to reduce some of these things. So stick to your plan, whatever it is. If it's one of our programs or whatever program you've decided to do, work with strategies to stick with it. And that's really where the community, having a community around you, really makes a difference. All right. So determine the diet plan that you're actually going to follow in advance, and then stick with it. Tweak it where necessary, yes. But, we're all alike and yet we're all different. And we all have different dietary requirements, what we've seen. And we all also have different weaknesses and needs and all that sort of thing. So work with somebody. That's why we have the wellness guide concept, where you can have somebody that works with you, plus tap in with the community and get the job done. All right. Avoid the diet wars. When you start to think about what the right diet is across the board, that's where you get into real trouble. Okay, so there's no real, in my opinion, there's no real one diet. There's no real one ethically proper diet. I really do respect the research that Dr. Weston Price found when he traveled around the world to more primitive cultures that were not exposed to westernized methodologies. And he looked at what they naturally ate for hundreds of years. And he looked for the similarities in their diet, not, what was the one diet. So he didn't find one diet worldwide. He found people that ate within the parameters of their genetic heritage, and they had strong, healthy teeth with no cavities, even though they didn't clean their teeth. And they had strong bones and a lack of disease. That's a clue. They ate within their own genetic heritage. And so So what we do with what we do in here in the Savvy team, the Eat Savvy diet, and some of the approaches, we have a basic strategy for you to follow, and then we tweak it based on individual needs and your, if you've had full extensive genetic testing done and nutrigenomic testing, you've invested the thousands upon thousands of dollars to get that done, then you know what your genetic heritage is. But otherwise, we tweak things with simple things such as blood type to know sort of where you're most likely to have come from. And then we have further testing inexpensive testing that we can do by doing a hair test, a hair analysis test. So again, avoid the diet wars. There's no right or wrong. It's what is going to work for you. So, like for example, I once believed that vegetarianism was not only the most healthy diet, but was also the most ethically right diet. And so, coming from that position and everything, this is the right thing that everyone should do. Well, I was not correct. Okay, I was not correct. I myself did better when I went onto meat, and then further learned about metabolic typing and blood type diet further, studied that further and all that sort of thing, and realized that was not only not good for me, but we cannot say that one specific type of food is right for everyone. That's why the Eat Savvy diet is a spectrum of foods, not eat this or that. Every other diet that I see out there pretty much says, don't eat this, eat this. And we recognize that everybody's different, and we're looking for more of a way at helping you decide and reach that and move towards that higher level of wellness. So avoid the diet wars. Anyway, that being said, if you do suffer from an autoimmune disorder, such as we'll be talking about with Hashimoto's thyroiditis or something else, you may have to move to a very much more cut and dry plan, because there are some well-known things that trigger autoimmunity. So there's not a gray area of, well, can I have a little bit of that? No, you really have to be off that altogether. And so again, but we can work with you on that. All right. Set your diet first, and then your exercise routine second. So before I was mentioning that exercise isn't the best method to lose fat. Well, it isn't. It's an important part of the process, movement and exercise and everything. But set your diet first, and then look at your exercise program. So many people try to exercise their way out of their challenges with weight, and that's a losing approach. You really need to look at your diet. It's not so much just reducing calories, because the flaw in the science up to this date, in the promotion of the science, is that a calorie equals a calorie, meaning that a calorie of sugar is exactly the same in the body as a calorie that comes from fat, and that is not the truth. Okay, so you've been led astray in that area. So what we have to do is we have to set your diet up to work, and then you optimize your results with strategic exercise. Okay. I would curb the cravings with nutrition. The amount of people that say all you need is a balanced diet, it's just nuts. It's just nuts. No, not as in the nuts you eat, but it's crazy. Because there are so many things that can lead to food not being as high in nutrition, or to lead you to not getting everything that you need. We're going to be talking about Hashimoto's thyroiditis in this next session. The other leading cause of hypothyroidism across the whole world is an iodine deficiency. So the number one reason for hypothyroidism, which can lead to low energy levels and poor ability to lose fat and all this sort of thing, is a trace mineral deficiency. So obviously, many of those people are in developing countries and all that sort of thing. So it's when they're not as lucky and fortunate as you, perhaps. But if the number one reason for hypothyroidism is a trace mineral deficiency, how stupid is it to say that there aren't a whole bunch of other things that are potentially caused by a trace mineral deficiency? So we here in the Savvy team assert that we must supplement to optimize our diet and our life. And when we look back at the information from Dr. Weston Price, he found that these people that had no dental problems and great health had like 4 times the trace minerals in their diet as the rest of the people back in the early 1900s. So it's a good strategic bet that we're so much more deficient, so we encourage you to supplement. And so that's just dealing with the trace minerals. But it's interesting that trace mineral supplementation helps to curb cravings. So we routinely find that when people aren't succeeding with one of our weight loss programs, and we say, "Are you using your nutrition?" And they go, "Yeah, I take my tablets every day," and blah 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 blah. And say, "Have you been remembering your trace mineral?" Because it's kept in the fridge, for example, and often can be forgotten. Actually, no, I haven't been on that for a week. Actually, that's when I started to have problems. Exactly. So trace minerals really help to curb your cravings. Now, there are some specifics that you can also use, and along with other herbs, like we use a blend that has cinnamon and zinc and chromium, and that specifically helps. But again, we want to go for more of the holistic look if possible. So curb your cravings with nutrition, and you're going to get so much better results on your weight loss efforts. We've seen people even easily give up overconsumption of alcohol through supplementation. They just found the cravings disappear. They just said, "Does that stuff help you to reduce your alcohol consumption?" They said, "Well, what happened there?" "Well, I just didn't feel as much like I needed that sweet drink, or I needed a drink of alcohol or whatever. I just didn't crave it as much." Exactly. So it's balanced up your cravings. So nutritional supplementation can just make your job so much easier when you're looking to lose fat. And if you have any questions about all this, of course, reach out to your wellness guide if you already have one here in the Savvy team. Otherwise, just contact us and we'll be able to get you on a plan. And speaking of that, number 12 would be stop trying to be the Lone Ranger. Stop trying to be the Lone Ranger. The reason some of the big programs like Weight Watchers and all those sorts of things, the reason that they took off was the support. It certainly wasn't the dietary approach. It was the support. And that's why we built that into our programs here and why we have a community. So we just see those who try to tackle it all by themselves, don't tap into the training, don't tap into the lives that we do, don't become engaged in the groups. They just don't get the same results because they're trying to be the Lone Ranger. Just use the support and it will be more easy and more fun as well. So let's just look at 4 common barriers, in alignment with that for sustained weight loss. The first barrier is being able to burn stored fat for energy, setting your body up to be able to burn it for energy. If you have a constantly high sugar load in your diet, your body will want to burn that off first. So your body will want to burn off all alcohol, then it'll move to the carbohydrates, then it will move to the fat stores. Now, some people, of course, your body will burn protein as well, but it's not as likely to burn protein compared to those other fuel sources, okay? So we have to set you up to make sure that you burn stored fat for energy. If you want to lose it, we got to burn it. It doesn't just disappear. It doesn't melt away. Even when marketing says we'll help you to melt the fat or a fat melting workout, it doesn't melt and drain away the fat. It has to be metabolized and actually burnt up, through the metabolism. And that's actually very complicated. So you've got to set up the biochemistry in your body ready to lose that fat. And our programs do that. But obviously, one of the easiest ways is to make sure you're reducing your sugar consumption, eating the whole foods, all those things that we just went to. You're looking to reduce the cravings and snacking. And this is where this is again a barrier. You need tips and product solutions to help you reduce the cravings. And that's what I was going through with trace minerals, cinnamon, those sorts of things can really help. You'll need program flexibility. Okay, so many people, this is a barrier for sustained weight loss because they think it's either on or off the program. There's no sliding scale to move to a more flexible program after the intense one is done. This is so important that most plans out there don't have this built-in flexibility. So for example, I'll use our example of our rapid fat loss protocol. It's a cyclical protocol that you do for a certain period of time, and then you move off that to sort of rebalance, let your metabolism rebalance, and then you can cycle back on again. So the reason that most of the long-term low-calorie diets fail is because they're long-term. They mess up your metabolism over time. And so whereas if we work it differently, then we maintain your metabolism and maintain your health and can shift you off onto a different program. So people routinely, like for example, are able to go onto our rapid fat loss protocol and then maybe just shift off onto the Eat Savvy approach for a month or so and just have a bit of a break, be more picky about their food choices, but not the amounts and everything. And then they can cycle back on to the rapid fat loss and come back off again. And so or they can move on to another program, or they can go, to break through this plateau, I may need to move on to a detoxification-based program to get the results. And that's the thing. When you only have one program, then it's like one size fits all. And there might be one size fits all hats and shirts and clothes and everything, but let's face it, the one size doesn't fit everyone. It can be used for everyone, but it doesn't fit if you want again, program flexibility, so important. And so we got you back on that. And the next is the guidance and support, okay? And ongoing guidance and support. And that's where some of these bigger weight loss programs have succeeded because they offer that. So this is why we love when we did the work around around Alzheimer's and shared the end of Alzheimer's. We did a session, a masterclass on the Healthy Brain Action Plan and a show on Alzheimer's. We shared some of these this quote from Dr. Dale Bredesen. And he said, related to Alzheimer's, it's no longer about monotherapeutics. 21st century medicine is about programmatics. Well, that's exactly the same with any approach. Anything that you're looking to improve about your health, it's not a monotherapeutic, it's a programmatic. So whether it be we're talking here about weight loss, and we're talking about Hashimoto's thyroiditis in this particular show. And so, it's not about one thing to solve that one weight loss pill or one thyroid pill or whatever. It's about programmatics. It's about looking holistically at what the body is all about and what we can do to improve the underlying issues that led to the problem. And that's why, for example, we have our detox wellness program. What people often do is they use the detox program alongside the Eat Savvy diet to sort of prep themselves for weight loss. And we've seen people lose sometimes just a couple of kilos in the practice run on the detox, sometimes up to 20 kilos without even really trying to diet because they're optimizing their body's pathways, the detox pathways and the systems of the body. Then we have our rapid fat loss protocol, which is our most strictest but fastest method for losing fat. So that's something that you might want to consider if you're looking for an actual program to follow. And then we have our body transformation challenge. And it's more, it's more for those who are interested in not only losing fat, but also exercising and putting on muscle. So it's more about body recomposition than simply fat loss. So we would love to know, look, how can we help you? There have been some tips there on how you can shed that excess weight and look and feel your best and be able to, maybe even put some of these into practice to feel better at Christmas time. And so, it's not the ideal time to start on a diet, but we've had many people who've lost 10 kilos just in the first few weeks of December before they showed up to their family Christmas, shocking everybody there that's using, for example, the rapid fat loss protocol. But look, we'd love to know, how can we help you for your best wellness journey? You're going to want a plan. You're going to want some solutions to utilize, and you'll want guidance and community, and we offer you all of that. So here it's time for us to jump on into the next part of the show. If you have just joined us for the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise show, it's Corey Sievers here, and here in the Savvy team, we're all about helping you enjoy improved health and lifestyle. I want to remind you about the important notice that we're dealing here with some conditions that that are around health, and here in the Savvy team, we don't treat disease. That's what your doctor is for. We help you to correct some of the underlying imbalances. So please do take notice of this important notice. So yeah, look, Hashimoto's thyroiditis and all sorts of thyroid problems and everything. There's a lot of different things that this can trigger, and with thyroid disorders, conventional medicine, I think, has just left most people in the lurch, really, because it's not addressing some, especially with Hashimoto's, because it's an autoimmune condition. But what are some of the things that people constantly complain about? It's things like, feeling like your battery is absolutely flat is one thing. So severe fatigue, tiredness, sleeping a lot, really just feeling like the battery is flat. That's a symptom of a thyroid disorder. Now, it could be simply hypothyroidism, or it could be Hashimoto's, and that is up to your doctor to eventually diagnose, okay? But so many people, we've had people reach out and say, well, I have been diagnosed with Hashimoto's and I'm still struggling. My doctor's told me that I really need to be on this medication, as well as maybe an immunosuppressive drug to sort of calm the immune system down. And we really believe that while that can help some people, it's not addressing the root causes. So it's sort of like, okay, let just this crude example came to mind, because I was going to say, like, if you have a cut on your arm and you keep rubbing salt into it, it hurts, and it's not going to heal. But what if you just kept brushing past a nail that was poking out constantly? When you go past there, that in the same spot every day, you're just slamming a nail across your arm, and you go, why isn't that healing? And you keep slamming your arm into this nail, and it keeps cutting it in exactly the same spot. Well, we can keep trying to heal. So 21st set, like the typical medicine, conventional medicine, would just try to patch that up and let that heal, and you just keep ripping it open and ripping it open and ripping it open. So when we focus on more of a holistic view, we wind back out. We look at and go, what's causing this? Well, what if we just banged the nail out of the way so you stop cutting your arm open? Then you could heal. Well, it really can be as simple as that. What's the use of just trying to patch up the irritated sore and put natural salves on it or whatever, even if we've got to go back to the actual problem is that there's a nail sticking out and you keep damaging yourself on. Well, that's a lot of the problem that we're dealing with when we're dealing with autoimmune conditions such as Hashimoto's, or it might be other autoimmune conditions as well, but we're dealing here with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And so that's why we really believe that symptoms are not enemies to be destroyed, but sacred messengers who encourage us to take better care of ourselves and to look for what's actually going on. If you're just generally suffering from low energy levels and you feel like you've lost your spark, then episode 36, we dealt with this, but we want to dig into the signs, some of the signs of Hashimoto's itself. So when we're dealing with Hashimoto's here, despite what your conventional doctor may tell you, it isn't a problem of your thyroid. It's actually, as I mentioned, an autoimmune condition. So essentially, and if you've been diagnosed with Hashimoto's, you probably already know all of this. But It's essentially your immune system is attacking your thyroid, causing it to underproduce the hormones and slowing down all of your metabolic process. So what are some of the signs similar to that of other thyroid disorders? Fatigue, feeling exhausted even after sleeping for 8 to 10 hours. Brain fog, difficulty concentrating, poor memory, weight gain and inability to lose weight, cold hands or feet, low body temperature, hair loss, thinning hair, brittle hair, dry hair, constipation, other hormonal imbalances, including PMS, irregular periods, low sex drive, even infertility, very dry and brittle nails, mood imbalances, could be mood swings, anxiety, a decreased heart rate, neck swelling, obviously, around here, snoring, a hoarse voice. Yeah, I could go on, but you get the point. There's a lot of, when your thyroid's out of whack, for whatever reason, things aren't really good. So, really, as I alluded to before, the number one reason for a hypothyroid, so low thyroid, worldwide, is it's predominantly a nutritional deficiency. It's a trace mineral, iodine. So, it's logical then, if we look at Hashimoto's as being the sort of like the leading cause in the West of thyroid disorders for most Western countries, that there's something else going on. There's got to be something going on. If for most of the world it's just a nutritional deficiency, could it be simple? Could the root cause be really simple for us here in the West? Well, for 90%, we're essentially back to what we've seen, essentially back to our philosophy here in the Savvy team of it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. We have to decrease toxin exposure, increase nutrition, and optimize the systems of the body. Okay? Easy as 1, 2, 3. And when we do that, with a holistic view, then the body can naturally heal. So 90% of hypothyroidism, of low thyroid in most Western countries, is considered to be Hashimoto's disease. Now, as I said, it's an autoimmune condition. It essentially causes the destruction of the thyroid gland over time. And as the destruction progresses, the thyroid really becomes less and less able to produce enough hormones for your metabolic needs. So now, medication, because could be a destruction of the thyroid gland and its ability to produce, all of the necessary hormones, then you may eventually need supplementation if you didn't tackle the root cause early enough. But you certainly can go into remission. So many experts sort of say, you don't heal it, you don't get rid of it, you just put it into remission. Well, however we work this, if we understand that if we remove the triggers and supply the body with all the nutrients and the symptoms go away, whether we define that as healing or not, or whether we define it as remission, or whether we define it as the fact that we've eliminated the problem. See, most diseases today, in our opinion, and most of the chronic diseases, are metabolic in nature. So if we can fix the metabolic derangement that caused the disease, then the disease will go away. We can say, well, it hasn't been healed because if you mess up your lifestyle and diet again, it will come back again. So really, it's something that you do as an everyday preventative strategy. Optimal wellness means everyday prevention. So medication may be necessary, but not without first stopping the damage, as I used with the cutting yourself analogy. So let's have a look at this whole issue of getting to the root cause. Most of the time, when we look at the modern medical model, they're attacking the symptoms, not correcting the underlying causes. And that's fine. That's been the training. That's what they're there for. And we should be grateful for that. But we shouldn't expect a different paradigm if that's what the system offers. You don't go, it's like you go to a, it's like you don't go to the ladies, you don't go generally to the barber for a cut and color and a wave and whatever, and you don't go to the barber for that. You don't expect the barber to give you a fancy hairdo. You go to the hairdresser there. So guys, you don't generally go to the hairdresser and expect a beard trim and a cutthroat shave. They just don't do that sort of thing. That's not what they do. You go to the appropriate place. So when we're talking about, there's absolutely nothing wrong with what is on offer through our treatment paradigm in the medical model. But we have to understand that it is not the same as holistic wellness and a wellness paradigm. So the treatment paradigm looks to treat the symptoms and the signs and get you back to basically a neutral point, a not sick point. Whereas when we're looking at healing, we're looking to go and find the root cause so that we can go beyond just not sick and reach a high level of wellness. And so the thing is that most conventional doctors have simply not been trained in the root cause approach. It's like the hairdresser has not been trained to use a cutthroat razor, so you don't want her to have that by your throat, guys. So when asked about immune imbalance, they don't have the answers, a conventional doctor. So if you've been diagnosed with Hashimoto's, for example, and you're likely being told that there's nothing that can be done, and you're going to be on medication for the rest of your life. Now, of course, I don't want to go into too much depth there. What I want to do is sort of like wind back and tell you the things that can be done, really. So, how much do I share with you? Look, when we're dealing with the root cause approach, we're really zooming out and going, what's really going on? And so this isn't going to happen overnight for you. It's about taking responsibility and taking control. If you probably wouldn't be watching this if you were somebody who just said, give me a pill and I'll do whatever. Okay, just sort me out. You probably wouldn't be here getting educated. So there's so many things that you can do to help you overcome the Hashimoto's. And you can do it with, the help of your conventional practitioner. They can help get the right diagnosis, do the tests, all that sort of thing. But then it's you to take the actions that I'm going to go through. Okay, so there's the reason that we really so believe in this complementary approach is that we're very grateful to have the modern medical model there to do the testing, the diagnosis, and to supply medication when needed. But the problem is that many people then think that when they hear there's nothing that you can do, you'll just need to take the medication. They believe that. And that's the problem that we don't believe is helpful. If somebody can correct the underlying causes, why not tell them about that? So that's what we're here to do for you. Because it's like this. When the warning light's going off, do you treat the warning light or do you look for the underlying issue? Well, medicine treats the warning light. You have low thyroid, let's fix the thyroid. Let's just give you medication for the thyroid. Okay? Which is fine. It gets you out of the initial problem, but it hasn't corrected the reason for the warning light of the thyroid going off. So this is why we love what Dr. Molly Roberts said. Your body will start by whispering. Then it'll start talking. And if you don't pay attention, it'll start yelling and shouting. And then you have an illness. So when the engine light comes on in your car, you don't, do you find a way to turn off the light or do you investigate under the bonnet? Well, that's the analogy that we want to work with Hashimoto's. We're not focused on offering a fix for the problem. We're looking to investigate and look at the underlying causes. And there are some common root causes for many wellness issues, but Hashimoto's is certainly one that we're obviously delving into here. There are many different symptoms that can arise for all different health problems, and you could be different for you with how your thyroid problem is showing itself. But what are some of the root causes here? Well, the autoimmunity, the immune system attacking the body tissue. That's what we're dealing with here with Hashimoto's. Could be from food intolerances, especially gluten and dairy. So you're going to want to give those up. Could be high blood sugar, insulin resistance, pre-diabetes. That's rampant today. So you're going to want to go into more of a low carb diet. It could be intestinal bacteria, yeast overgrowth, leaky gut. All of these can be implicated. And so what we need to do is just follow a general plan. And that's what I've got here for you to simplify things. So we have 3 steps to take back your health if you have Hashimoto's thyroiditis? First of all, we have to remove the triggers. Okay, so remove the triggers that are irritating the immune system. That's like when I was using the analogy of cutting yourself on a nail every day as you walk past somewhere. We've got to remove that first. And so what's happening is your body, your gut is being damaged. Your thyroid could be being damaged every day by triggers. Your immune system is being triggered by constantly being scraped on the nail every day. So we need to remove these triggers. Then we need to calm down your immune system. So calm it down and get it back on track. Get it out of its confused and irritated state. Okay, so calm down the system, not just the immune system, but the whole, all of the inflammation in the body, etc. And then we need to repair and nourish over the long haul. So really, really quite simple when we really look at it. So I want to take you through these steps: remove the triggers, calm the system, and then repair and nourish. So that's the good news. There's lots of everybody's different. There can be a whole range of different things that are triggering Hashimoto's or any other immune disorder. So this is the same for all immune disorders, really. For all autoimmunity, we could follow these same plans, and tweak it a bit specifically for for the thyroid or for the joints or for whatever else. So it's very, very similar whether we're dealing with Hashimoto's or whether we're dealing with rheumatoid arthritis, for example. Very similar, but the way we tweak it would be different, because you're obviously looking after the thyroid or looking after the joints. It's, we're nourishing different body systems, but you'll get the picture as we go through. So we need to remove the triggers, calm the system, and repair and nourish the entire body. So since your thyroid is really the body's engine, all of the metabolic processes and going on and keeping your digestion going and regulating your mood and maintaining your body temperature and all that sort of thing, if it's getting damaged over time, then it's going to slow down all of your body processes. And that's where you can end up with digestive problems and weight gain and hair falling out and fatigue and mood problems, etc., etc. So because we're dealing here with essentially a malfunctioning immune system, what we've got to do is we've got to find out where the malfunction is. We don't so the immune system's malfunctioning and messing up the thyroid. So we don't just treat the thyroid, we have to go and find out where's the immune system malfunctioning, or otherwise, even if we fix the thyroid, the immune system's still malfunctioning and can then go and attack some other thing. So move on to attacking the joints, or move on to, attacking the gut. And then you end up with, things such as Crohn's and all that sort of thing. So again, we don't just want to look at the one thing. We want to look at the holistic method of the holistic view of the body. All right. So there's definitely help. There's definitely hope, definitely help for you there. So remove the triggers. Let's look at removing the triggers. If you follow the savvy, easy as 1, 2, 3 philosophy and get serious about cleaning up your diet and your environment, you're going to remove most of the primary triggers. So the easy as 1, 2, 3 philosophy is reduce chemicals, increase nutrition, optimize the body systems. Easy as 1, 2, 3. So reduce chemicals and toxins, and these are what we're dealing with here, the triggers, much of the triggers in autoimmunity. So gluten and other plant toxins in grains are one of the biggest triggers, one of the biggest and most problematic triggers for Hashimoto's thyroiditis. We've got a bit of a gluten thyroid, interplay that goes on here. So wheat gluten, so the protein found in wheat and other grains, can pass through the gut lining. It becomes sort of like a foreign invader. And the immune system then identifies it as a foreign invader and starts to attack. And the problem for your immune system can, there's numerous things that can end up along the lines of the thyroid specifically being attacked. So what we've seen, though, is that gluten intolerance is not just a celiac problem. If you have another indicator, if you have Hashimoto's, you're going to really want to get off all grains. and seriously, okay, get off all grains. You're going to want to, it could be triggered from long-term stress. It could be triggered from a leaky gut. So the problem is with the grains, it can be a flow-on effect. So even if the grains, the gluten, for example, even if they just irritate the gut lining and cause a leaky gut, then these food particles can get into your bloodstream, and then that triggers the immune system to be on attack, and then it mistakes thyroid tissue for these foreign invaders. And so that's what we need to do. We need to calm down the system. We need to remove the trigger and then calm down the system. EDCs and foreign estrogens can be a trigger. So, when we're seeing a bit of an epidemic in not just thyroid dysfunction, but autoimmune dysfunction, and many experts are believing that it could be from all the environmental pollutants, pesticides, household chemicals, and these endocrine disruptors. So it's a good strategic bet if the World Health Organization has identified that these chemicals, these endocrine disrupting chemicals, can mess up your whole endocrine system. Well, your thyroid is part of that. So we need to look to really get rid of these chemicals. So what can happen is it may not be that they trigger the immune system. Sometimes when we're dealing with endocrine disruptors, it's like it's a foreign hormone that looks like it goes into the lock, like a lock and key, and it looks like it goes into the receptor for your hormones and blocks the action of your natural hormones. So that can be the problem with endocrine disrupting chemicals. So there's a lot that can go on. So we see tremendous results with people with hormone disorders and adrenal burnout and thyroid and problems and all that sort of thing when they really get very strict with kicking out the chemicals and environmental toxins. Then we really can look at other things such as molds and systemic infections. For many people, it's often just eliminating the foods puts them into a remission, but then we have to really look at these chemicals. Sometimes it can be heavy metals, environmental toxins, and even, yes, mold exposure. All triggers. Now, one of the things that is confusing for many people, that many people can get the grains and the dairy and all that sort of thing, but some people can be oxalate sensitive. So they can actually be sensitive to the oxalates from green foods. So oxalates form salts in the body by combining with calcium. And when you consume plants that have a high oxalate content, such as dark leafy greens that we're told are good for us, then these can create these crystals, lodge in our organs, cause inflammation. Could be kidney stones. It's one of the too much oxalates are believed to be one of the reasons for kidney stone formation. And so the interesting with autopsies with the thyroid is that research showed that has tied oxalate buildup to thyroid disease. So what happens is that in a particular study, they found that in autopsies, 79% of adults were found to have oxalate crystals built up in their thyroid gland. Now, interestingly, what the researchers found is that those with Hashimoto's actually had a lower incidence of oxalate crystals, especially in the parts of their thyroid gland that were inflamed by the disease. Now, that does not, you might at first hearing of that think, okay, so Hashimoto's had less oxalates, well, therefore, maybe what should we be doing here? This is what the scientists concluded. They concluded that potentially the oxalates were causing the inflammation and triggering the immune response, and so the response was to take away these oxalate crystals, and then it was damaging the thyroid in the process. So damaging the thyroid, the surrounding tissue, trying to get rid of these crystals. So, and then triggering an ongoing response, really. So, again, it depends on whether or not you're sensitive. Some people can be more sensitive to different chemicals, can be more sensitive. Just like many people are more sensitive to gluten than others, many people are more sensitive to oxalates than others. And so I'll give you a list of some of the things. If you think if in addition to your Hashimoto's, you have these things, then it could possibly be oxalate sensitivity, joint pain, burning with when you're going to the toilet, urination, leaky gut, depression. If you already have kidney stones, if you have burning with bowel movements, it all could be from oxalate poisoning, really. And this is where it's an interesting one, because if you've heard us go through the Eat Savvy diet, where many people are all focused nowadays on their plant-based diet and their kale smoothies and all that sort of thing. Well, kale is rich in oxalates. Now, not everybody has a problem with that. It's spinach, there are other things too, but kale in particular. And so when you're having a raw kale smoothie, that's like basically a oxalate injection. And if you're sensitive, or you're trying to do the right thing when you've got Hashimoto's or whatever, then you moved off your heavy grain-based processed food diet, and now you're doing raw kale smoothies, then you may have moved from one problem to another, out of the frying pan into the fire. Because what we have always recommended to reduce the oxalate content of some of these foods, such as that, is that you blanch it. So, and that will dramatically reduce that. Then you get all the benefits with lessening the amount of oxalate. So what does that mean? Big pot of boiling water. You can chop up your kale and you throw it in, mix it around like that, and then you can take it out. You don't want to overboil it, take it out, but you don't want to just steam it. You want to really blanch it in a lot of water and take it out, because that rinses away a lot of this oxalic acid. And so that can reduce problems. So again, there's lots of different oxalates in foods, though. I'll just give you the top 10 things here. Spinach, rhubarb, kale, rice bran, buckwheat, almonds, miso soup, corn, potatoes, and navy beans. I think I got the 10 there. And so this is the thing. And many times the things that are healthy are what's on there. I've seen recently in much of the different communities that I'm involved with some people with autoimmune conditions have actually moved on to more of a carnivore lifestyle, eliminated plants altogether, and they've gone into total remission. So we're told that we, should, all of this nowadays about, at the moment, the vegan community is like really full on in terms of marketing and out there. And we generally believe that most people can do well on a very plant-rich diet, and we assert that that is the best generally. But for some people who are super sensitive, they've actually been able to heal their body by removing all plant matter from their diet, and they've got rid of Hashimoto's and got rid of rheumatoid arthritis and got rid of chronic skin conditions and those sorts of things. So this is the thing. We're all alike, and yet we're all different. So what we've got to do is we've got to work out a plan and remove the triggers. And a lot of these triggers, you might have noticed that all of those oxalate were all plants. All right. Next, what we've got to do is we have to, we're still going through the kicking out the triggers. So well done if you're with us, and if you know anybody with Hashimoto's or thyroid problems and everything, then this may be really beneficial for them. So please do share it. I know we're going into some of the stuff it can be detailed and everything, and you know what? It doesn't matter whether it's for everyone, even if you don't have Hashimoto's. All of these steps, the general steps of removing triggers, calming down all the inflammation in your system, and nourishing and repairing, it's going to help everyone, because it's the body. The body as a mechanism, body as an organism is a whole organism. So if we look after it as a whole, then we'll get better health. Anyway, okay, all right, we'll deal with kicking the toxins out now. We're really being bombarded with thousands of different toxins every day. It can be mercury, it can be nitrates, it can be the endocrine disrupting chemicals, it can be, all of these things. What's concerning is that mercury, nitrates, some of these sorts of chemicals can be very chemically similar to iodine and are therefore absorbed by your thyroid in place of iodine. And when this occurs, then you've got problems, obviously, with the thyroid. So the good news is that you start eliminating these chemicals and make sure your body has all the right nutrients, then you're going to be able to heal. So you need to look at where you're being exposed. So it could be just from the tap water. It could be because you're eating a lot of, you've moved off. Many people, for example, move off meat and they say, I've been eating lots of fish, but it's all farmed fish, which are full of nasties as well. So some people, it's the issues of where they live, close to pesticides. For a lot of people, it's really just what they're using in the home with sprays and then personal care products that are loaded with endocrine disrupting chemicals. And so here in the Savvy team, we help you change to safer. Sometimes it can be the dental fillings and the mercury leaching from that. So again, you just got to look through your life and look for these triggers and start to reduce wherever possible. So then from there, you're going to want to focus on optimizing the detox pathways so that your body can remove these toxins. And so, that's what we can help you do. But obviously, I hope that that's provided some benefits to just really go through, kick out the chemicals, look for heavy metal toxicity, look for where any chemicals using in the home. Could be molds. Make sure that you're not in a moldy home. Look at the foods. Follow the Eat Savvy diet. Remove all processed foods. Make sure that you just lightly blanch your greens and these sorts of things. Eliminate some of those high oxalate foods if you're sensitive. So how did you know that you're sensitive? If you have Hashimoto's and joint pain, you could be, or burning urination, all that sort of thing, you could be oxalate sensitive. So we want to just remove these triggers as best as we can. And then we move on to calming the system down. Now, when we're calming the system down, we're looking at reducing inflammation. And if you're already jumping on the Eat Savvy diet and reducing chemical exposure, then you're going to be reducing a lot of this inflammation as well, because the Eat Savvy approach is an anti-inflammatory diet. But supplementing with essential fatty acids can really help to reduce inflammation as well. Krill oil, fish oil, those sorts of things. Reducing all of the commercial seed oils. So getting off grains, getting off the commercial seed oils, all important. Part of the problem here with inflammation, with all of the seed oils and everything, is the ratio. So the ideal ratio between omega-6 fatty acids and omega-3 is like 1:1 or 3:1, somewhere between 1:1 and 3:1, depending on who you ask. But the average ratio in the Western world is closer to 25:1, 25 omega-6 to 1 omega-3, and as high as even 30:1. Thanks to all the processed foods and the seed oils and everything. Because you just think, what have you been told that is the healthiest oil? Soybean oil, vegetable oils, canola oil, all these sorts of things. They're all inflammatory, industrial processed oils that are loaded with omega-6. When you give up those, you're naturally going to bring out your balance. If you move towards grass-fed beef and wild-caught fish, and then maybe take a krill supplement, then you're going to be pretty good, and you're going to dramatically reduce inflammation. But again, if you're suffering from things such as Hashimoto's, we really need to calm that inflammation down. So you need to really look at being serious about that. All right, so another benefit also to bolstering up the omega-3s in your body is not just the inflammation, but the adaptive response that has on the immune system. So it can really help your immune system to rebalance, because in essence, conventionally they say that your immune system is too strong and it's attacking itself. Well, that's dumb, really. That's dumb. Your immune system, we want a strong immune system. We assert that it's confused, it's bamboozled, it's thrown off base, and it doesn't know what it's doing. So we've really we don't want to suppress it, we want to re-educate it. And so in essence, we could say that some of this nutrition like omega-3s and a proper diet and all that sort of thing, like the Eat Savvy diet, it starts to re-educate or reorient, take away the confusion of the immune system so that it can go, that's what I'm supposed to do. Whoops, sorry about that, buddy. I'll get back to my real work here. And, you've basically knocked your immune system silly, and it's, trying to do the best it can to actually keep on track. So next, as part of this calming the system down, you want to heal any infections. Sometimes there can be underlying viral bacterial infections that can can trigger Hashimoto's and mess with your system. So really just inflame your system. Some of the key ones might be the herpes virus, Epstein-Barr virus, hepatitis, Helicobacter pylori. These are things that can sort of mess with the system and can be an underlying trigger. So if you can remove those triggers, then you're more likely to go into remission and heal. You'll want to relieve your stress to calm the system down, because when your adrenals kick in, producing all of the cascade of hormones and stress and everything, it sort of signals your body to take all focus onto, the fight or flight, so to speak. And so it takes it away, takes all of the energy and focus away from the nourish and repair part of your system. And so, in essence, you're stealing. When you're under stress constantly, you're stealing from your digestion, from your immune response, from your hormone production, all that sort of thing, and eventually just sometimes even overloading your adrenals and leading to adrenal burnout. So, and even slowed thyroid production, poor conversion of thyroid hormone, like, for example, T4 to T3, for example. So all sorts of stress can really mess with your thyroid in a number of different ways, and your adrenals. So ideally, stress is something that passes and you get back to more relaxed. But in today's society, we're like on edge totally, and this can actually have a very damaging effect to your adrenals and your thyroid, and they work sort of in tandem fairly much. So stress also contributes to a leaky gut and inflammation in the gut as well. So that can then have a flow-on effect to then further trigger Hashimoto. So look, we all have stress in our lives. We've just got to really do what we can to reduce that stress. Deep breathing, supplementation, taking time out, all that sort of thing. Sometimes just taking stock of things that we've said yes to too many things and not the priorities that will move our life forward. So that might be something to do too. So we've got to calm things down, calm the system down. And then we move on to the repair and nourish. And I wanted to use the tree analogy that we use here with the repair and nourish, because, you get it. If you have a plant, if we imagine that all of the systems of the body are like these branches on the tree here. So we have the circulatory system, we have the endocrine system, of which the thyroid is part, really, the nervous system, excretory system, lymphatic system, reproductive systems, skeletal system, immune system, respiratory system, digestive system. These are all different branches of the tree. And if we think of that, all these systems of the body as being, reflected, all of our systems of our body reflected in the tree. If we think of looking after a plant, we know that we don't just go, okay, this particular branch of the tree is diseased, so we'll just chop it off. So if you're a gardener, yes, you may remove the diseased limb, but you then know you've got to do something, because you go, the tree would not have become diseased if it was not lacking something. So why is it that most people don't seem to understand that related to our own health? If we get it in a plant, why don't we understand it for ourselves? So if we let our food equal the soil that the plant lives in, okay? So, if you could repot the plant and it will do better, right? You could change your diet and you'll do better. You put a more nourishing diet in. So you could change your, when you just think about it, you could change your diet to, You could change your diet from, like, if you repotted a plant, if you've ever repotted a plant, you didn't just take it from that tired old soil that didn't have any nutrients in it and replace it with other tired old soil that didn't have any nutrients in it, did. You replaced it with healthy, fresh, good soil. Well, many people just today, we see they just change their diet from one nutrient deficient diet to the next nutrient deficient diet. And they wonder why, I changed my diet, nothing changed. I went off gluten and I went on to, I went off wheat and I went on to gluten-free stuff. Well, that's just like changing the potting mix from one nutrient deficient inflammatory thing to another nutrient deficient inflammatory thing. You didn't actually change. The soil just got changed from tired, old, worn out nutrient deficient soil to another tired, worn out nutrient deficient soil. You know, when you pot a plant, you put it into fresh soil. You know that you want soil that's going to have nutrients in there. You want the soil to have organisms, and you want it to have maybe ability to retain water and additional supplemented nutrients as well. So a premium potting mix has nutrients added into it, not just the original material. And so that's what we've really got to think of the same for ourselves here. So when we repot ourselves, we need to get better quality food into us, okay? But it's also wise to make sure that we're supplementing. So you fertilize the plant. You can fertilize the plant with just something basic to help it grow, just the basic nutrients, or you can fertilize it with a broad spectrum nutrient. And any gardener knows that the more broad spectrum you go, the healthier the plant will be. Well, that's why we don't just say all you need is a vitamin B. Why we don't just say all you need is minerals. So there are a number of things. There's 90 nutrients that we need to fertilize ourselves with to reach real nourishment, repair, and all that sort of thing. So if we look at us the same as a tree, we're going to need good quality light. Vitamin D, lack of vitamin D is implicated in many immune deficiency problems and implicated in thyroid problems. So we're going to need good light. We're going to need clean water. We're going to need things such as minerals and amino acids and vitamins and probiotics to nourish our diet. We're going to want to avoid chemical exposure, because you could repot the plant but still keep spraying it with Roundup and it will die. It doesn't matter how good the diet is. It doesn't matter how good the soil is, how good the supplementation is. If you keep spraying it with poison, it's going to die. It's the same thing with you. Stop spraying yourself with poison. We've got to remove the chemicals from all sources. Some of the things that you're putting directly onto your body in the way of personal care, shampoos and everything, these can be some of the most problematic. So we need to definitely look at the 1, 2, 3 there. We need to increase nutrition. We need to decrease chemical exposure. We need to optimize the body systems. So some of the things that you might want to do if you have Hashimoto's is repair your gut. So certainly eliminate gluten and all these sorts of things. But then there are some things such as, for example, bovine colostrum and aloe vera and everything that can start to heal and seal, and good probiotics, those sorts of things. So once you heal the gut and those sorts of things, then you can move on to looking at other systems of the body too. But you might notice there's a bit of an overlap here. So when we talk about decreasing the toxins, calming the system, and repairing and nourishing, the whole thing is, there's not like you do this and then you do this. Everything happens really at once when we follow more of a holistic approach. So you want to remove the inflammatory foods, toxins, infections, parasites, restore the enzymes necessary for proper digestion, re-inoculate the healthy bacteria, repair the gut with nutrients such as I suggested, aloe vera, bovine colostrum, probiotics. You'll want to optimize your diet. So we've been talking about the things before to eliminate, but now we've got to look at the things that you get into your diet as well. So right now you might have things such as commercial dairy, legumes, lots of corn, soy in your pantry. They're all supposedly healthy options, but these could be, if you have Hashimoto's, these could all be triggering your symptoms. So gluten's the worst offender, but many of these gluten-free things are also a problem. Casein, so casein from milk can be a real problem. So again, you may need to give up all of the typical dairy. A lot of times people can still deal with butter and cream, but that's because they're low in casein and lactose, because they've had the sugar and the protein removed from the dairy. Some people do okay on fermented dairy, but again, you've got to experiment with that and just really, it's probably the best to go as strict as possible to begin with. See whether you can get a response and an improvement in your situation and in other signs of inflammation, and then move forward there. So as far as minerals, you'll definitely want to supplement with trace minerals. Obviously, it's like if iodine, being a trace mineral, is the #1 reason worldwide in most sort of countries around the world for thyroid problems, for deficiency for hypothyroid, and yet in the West, 90% of people, it's from this inflammation, autoimmune Hashimoto's type of symptoms. There's stuff going on here. So most of the time, I believe, so in most countries around the world, it seems that it's a deficiency syndrome. Here in the West, it's actually poor food. It's the production of high packaged foods and chemicals that are triggering the immune system. So, but nevertheless, what we can do is if we decrease the chemical exposure and increase the nutrition, we'll start to heal. So iodine is important, selenium is important, zinc is important, iron is important. All of these things are important for your thyroid function. So this is why we recommend a high quality multivitamin along with trace mineral supplementation and a clean diet. So adrenal repair, you'll want to, I mentioned before about the adrenals. Well, trying to resurrect your thyroid function without looking after your adrenals is going to be difficult too. And so your adrenals, they require the stress management, they require minerals, B vitamins, sometimes the same sorts of things such as the seaweed type of things like kelp and the chlorella and spirulina. These are good for both the adrenals, the detox pathways, as well as the thyroid. So, like iodine's synonymous with the thyroid, but for example, zinc. If you don't have zinc, you won't get the conversion of the hormones that in there, like T4 to T3. Selenium, it's another critical one for the immune system. So, that's what we're really looking to do. We're really looking to supply the body with a broad range of nutrients to repair and nourish over time. So easy as 1, 2, 3. We're really going to go through, but I'll just take you through that again. This is what we want to do. We want to remove all the triggers. Remove all the triggers. This will benefit everyone. Calm the system down and repair and nourish. And this, I'll really think of it, if you have trouble thinking about it, just think of it like a tree. What do you do to keep the plant alive? Now, look, just taking you through this is just to give you just a glimpse at a functional medical approach for the factors that can affect thyroid function. I don't want to go into depth, but I want to show you all of the different, like zooming out and having a look so that we can see the benefit of focusing holistically. So you don't need to know the chart or anything. It's irrelevant, because if you take care of all of these sorts of things, your body will heal. That's what we've seen. So factors that can contribute to proper production of thyroid hormones. There are the things such as the trace minerals, iron, iodine, there's the thing zinc, then there's tyrosine, selenium, vitamin E, B vitamins, vitamin C and vitamin D. So if you're not nourishing your body with these nutrients on a daily basis, then that can impact the production of your thyroid hormone. Let's look at the factors that inhibit the proper production of thyroid hormone over on this side of things. Now we're starting to deal with the chemicals and things. So we could look at the triggers. So you might have not enough nutrition over on this side, or you might have the triggers: stress, infection, trauma, radiation, medications. You might be taking another medication that's messing with your thyroid. Fluoride, toxins, or autoimmune disease triggered, triggered by some reason. That could be Hashimoto's or whatever. So all of these affect the thyroid in some way. There are factors, nutritional factors that affect the conversion of the thyroid hormones. For example, selenium and zinc. If you're deficient in those, then you won't properly have conversion. Then there's factors that increase conversion. So looking at again, many of these are you see the same sort of things we've just been going through here. When we look at what I wanted to show you with that is not, you don't need to know. I don't want you to go into all of the depth there, but I want you to see that if we can, there are many repeated areas, is the word I was looking for there. So what we tend to do is zoom out, stop trying to go after one thing or another, even from a functional medical point of view, to help, which can help you get back on track much quicker. They go looking what's the specific, through a barrage of testing. They go looking for the specific thing that's wrong and then treat that. And then when they see response, they move to more holistic. So most of the time you can get the same results by just zooming out and looking after yourself as a whole. So I wanted to show you that, not to overwhelm you. Oh, I got to do that and I got to do that. No, that's what they can determine by testing and really looking at the exact things that are going wrong for you. But what we find most of the time for most community members, if they just get serious about following the general wellness philosophy, everything comes good because you're focusing on the whole plant, not just the diseased branch. So that's why you can see when you look at that particular picture I showed you, you can see that when we say that we assert that there are two fundamental or underlying causes of poor health, excessive toxicity of some sort, you saw in all those things that affected the thyroid, it was either a toxin, a chemical, toxins from stress really, or whatever, or it was a lack of nutrition. It was one thing or another. So that's why we assert that these are the fundamentals. And if we can correct the imbalance, then we can move towards a healthier all-round life. So we could say that achieving optimal well-being, creating a healthier thyroid could be as easy as 1, 2, 3. Let's look to decrease toxin exposure from all sources. Go through your home. We can help you change to safer. Alter your diet. The Eat Savvy diet is free. Follow those 12 steps. Eliminate chemicals wherever possible. Get off the grains. Get off the toxic foods. And this is especially important if you have an autoimmune condition. Increase the nutrition. Fertilize the plant. Fertilize the body with the 90 nutrients that the body needs each and every day for optimal wellness. Okay? There's no use hunting after one thing or another going, oh, I saw that selenium and zinc and iron are good for the thyroid. Well, yeah, but if you just supplemented with those individual things, then you can put the whole body out of balance. So what we need is a broad array of trace minerals with all of the other associated micronutrients that help the minerals to work efficiently in the body. See, there are cofactors. All minerals have cofactors that are needed as well. So you can't just supplement with one mineral without potentially creating imbalances in the others. All right, so we need to increase that nutrition and we need to optimize the body systems. And so when we're dealing with Hashimoto's, obviously we'd be looking to look at some of the things like nourishing herbs that nourish the adrenals and the thyroid. Okay, and but generally we just look holistically, and most people, if they just eliminate the triggers, and then get on to good nutrition, everything starts to come good. Then we can start to heal the gut. Then we can start to really nourish the adrenals and everything starts to improve. But it does take time because you're rebuilding. But here's the thing. With Hashimoto's thyroiditis, you want to stop the onslaught immediately because things are not going to get better. Okay? It's basically a destruction of the thyroid tissue. So if we can turn off the toxic tap and eliminate the destruction, then it's not going to get worse. But otherwise, if nothing changes, it's only just going to continue to get worse. Okay, so that's it's like that for anything. If you change nothing, nothing changes. It's not bad news. It's actually good news. You're in control. There is hope. Whatever you might be struggling with, there's hope. If you're wanting to get a glimpse at exactly what might be going on for you at an epigenetic level, then I'd encourage you to look into our bioinfluence report hair tests. And that way you can discover what's affecting your body's systems, on that epigenetic level. And we call this our nutritional and environmental bioinfluence report, because I think what you've got from what we've gone through is that in every day where our body is influenced, our biology is influenced by negative things which push our health down, and the positive things which bring our health up. So if we can get that balance right, then we can experience good health and well-being. And so we have found that basically you just nourish the body as a whole, like we talked about with the plant analogy, and things come good. But sometimes, that's where testing, blood tests, functional medical tests, you can really invest thousands upon thousands of dollars to get all those tests done and still be sort of like, going one thing after another, hunting around for the answers. So what we've found for the majority of our community members, if they follow the holistic wellness principles and then look to use our inexpensive hair test technology, you can get some insights there on what your body's calling out for. So for example, with the system support indicators, you can see that, for example, just as this example, the emotions are a priority. So stress and emotional turmoil needs to be dealt with. And that would make perfect sense that the next thing affected is the adrenal system. So when the adrenals need nourishment, that's a P for priority. And then digestion, stress and emotional turmoil can throw the digestion out. So we need to support the digestion. So you can see here, there's all sorts of different aspects, systems of the body can show up, but we don't just want to treat the system, we want to look holistically. And the great thing about this, I'm sorry if you're coming to us from a different region around the world, we can't do these tests in every region, but reach out to us and we can put you in touch with people who might be able to do it for you. They just won't be able to offer you the same price we offer. But if you're here in the Australian region, then we can certainly do it, and you can even send a hair sample to us and we can send you back the report. But you can also have a key. What happens is you get, after the test's done, you get a whole key optimization overview, so you can see foods that need to be avoided, additives to avoid, the actual priorities of what you want to do with your, with nutrients and those sorts of things. And but the systems are really, really helpful for us to be able to point you in the right direction of the program that most suits your needs. So if you have been struggling with autoimmune disorders or Hashimoto's in particular, then there are some similarities of things that come up, but not always. So it may seem like something like totally left field comes up in your report, but and it may not seem like it's relevant, but this is all looking at the things that are affecting affecting your body on a affecting the influences on your biology, be they positive or negative. So we've found that people do get quicker results in our programs when they know specifically what they need to avoid or supplement with compared to their family or whatever. So if you're interested in having a look at that report, at the moment, next year the price will go up. We do have it's $175 is the cost of that report. But for our community members, we actually have a discounted price. And so, you're welcome to come on board and at this particular point in time and utilize that special and really know where to go in the new year. So the price will go up in the new year. So, but we're working on pricing structure for that. So keep you posted there. So what we are offering at this particular point in time is, if you fill out the how can we help form, then we can be, in the next couple of months, as sort of like a New Year special, you can have a free consultation, a free how can we help discovery session, and really just to find out what will most help you. So ask us about that, and we can book that in. But look, as far as some things that can really help, really super simple. Download the Eat Savvy Diet. Get on the 12 steps. 12 steps. If you just Googled Savvy Team Eat Savvy Diet, you'll probably find it. Easy, really easy peasy. 12 steps to help you. 12 steps to get started on the Eat Savvy Diet is the blog post, and that'll lay that out. And then you can also register for the next masterclass. You can download the report, and you can certainly just reach out to us on Facebook or through the website and ask any questions as well, or ask them here below as well. From there, I would really encourage you to explore something like the Savvy 90 plan, which is a nutrient program to cover all the bases. Because, really, as I've said, easy as 1, 2, 3. Easy as 1, 2, 3. But look, if it's not Hashimoto's, if it's not weight loss, if there's something that you would like to improve about your health and wellness, we can definitely guide you there. So we're really there to answer your questions. So do feel free to reach out, get your questions answered. And of course, we'd love to hear any insights, any special insights or inspirations that you've got from going through this. If you have any questions, then hit us up. Let's talk. All right. Congratulations for being with us here on the show. For your best wellness journey, you're going to want a plan. You're going to want some solutions. You'll want guidance, and you want community, and that's what we're here for. So I'm just checking out the comments to see whether there's anything in particular to cover before we wrap things up. Doesn't look like it at the moment. So again, thanks for joining us here on the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise show. I hope this double helping of healthy, dealing with weight loss and then Hashimoto's has been valuable. And if you do know anyone who's been struggling with these issues, do please share this with them. I'm sure it can be really helpful. So that's it from me for this Healthy, Wealthy, Wise show. So until next time, it's Corey Sievers here, encouraging you to be savvy. So all the best. We'll catch you next time around.